today we're going to talk about digital innovative communication formats. We're going to talk about hypertext and hypermedia. Today we live in the age of the internet. Every time we search anything on Google, the amount of results that we obtain increases in every second. We have immediate access to such amount of information that it would take us a life to read through all of it. We must therefore design innovative communication strategies based on this reality. In 1963, Ted Nelson coined the term hypertext. Hyper comes from the ancient Greek prefix hypa and means over, means beyond. It signifies the overcoming of the linear constraints of the written text. Written texts have a starting point and an ending point. These points are defined and determined by the author, and every user accesses the text from the same point and exits it from the same one as well. Traditionally, this is the result of a linear narrative structure, a structure that begins with a presentation, continues with the development, and ends with the conclusion. However, a hypertext is something different. Hypertext also start at one point and end up in another, but throughout the text there are several points that we call links that expand certain concepts from the original text. These links take you to other texts, take you to videos, images, drawings. They take you to other fragments of information. In a hypertext, these fragments of expanded information are always related to the original text. Hypermedia goes a step farther. Hypermedia is a design network of information. Here there are multiple access points and multiple ending points. Every fragment of information leads to other fragments of information. Information that is related in a non-linear narrative. Here multiple narratives are possible. Multiple narratives coexist and overimpose to each other. The author here becomes a designer, the designer of the network of information, and the user is free to decide where to enter the network and when and where to exit it. The 1st of October of 2013, I arrived in Tokyo, a city where I was going to live for 1 year. How can we face a city that has been built from a different nature, with a different history, whose technology is different and deals with other systems of representation? How can we read its streets, its structures, its spaces, its relations? This research project I developed after living in Tokyo for 1 year tries to give an answer to these questions, or at least tries to face them. And it does it through a situationist and hypermedial approach. From an archive of over 100 different images of the city, we selected 9 and we turned them into hyperimages. To do this, we identified those things that appeared in these images as specific of the city of Tokyo, and we started linking fragments of information we found on texts, on books, on publications, on articles, but also in laws, drawings, designs, related to each of these things that appeared in those images. These relations are hypervisual. Whatever fragments of information are related to what we see in the pictures, they are placed next to those elements. This process is repeated with the 9 different images, and the result of this is the creation of the research project Constellation of Information. A constellation of multiple fragments connected and related hypervisually. Well, at this point, we have 9 independent hyperimages, but we immediately realize that other types of connections appear. Connections that link fragments of information related to one of the images to fragments of information connected to other of the images. And this is when we introduced another system of relations. All of the fragments of information, independently of their format, are categorized. They are put into a specific category responding to what they're talking about. And these categories are turned into hypertext. Hypertext that are linear, that have a beginning and an ending and connect all these fragments of information scattered around the hypervisual constellation. It is precisely at this point where the project becomes hypermedia, a design network of information whose fragments are related to each other in multiple ways. But this is only the back of the project. The front is hypertokyo.net, a website that contains the designed hypermedia, the design network of information. The website, in first place, locates the user, you, in live time space of Tokyo. To do this, the website accesses a live stream camera located in one of the most important spots on the city. There should be a crossing, and this way you're now situated live in the city. After that, you can access the hypermedia through the two possibilities, the hypervisual relations or the hypertextual relations. In the hypervisual, you can see the 9 images. You can navigate them and interact with them by clicking on the highlighted areas. Clicking on those highlighted areas expand the information. Multiple visual information appears, complementing them. As you can see, all the fragments of information are categorized. This categorization is turned into colors and tags. And through these colors and tags, you can access the corresponding hypertext for every category. In the hypertextual, you could read all the text in a linear way, and you would therefore understand the different narrative lines inside of the information network. But if you click into the hypertext links, those will take you to the hyperimages where the information described in the text is related. In this way, hypertext and hyperimages interlace. You, as a user, can navigate through the whole network, starting from any point and leaving it at any point too. You can go deeper in whatever things are more interesting to you, and you can be more superficial about others. In the end, hypermedia is a system of freedom in which every user decides what to consume, how to read it, and how deep to go in any of the narratives. This is another hypermedia we developed in collaboration with the Architectural Association Summer School. Its name is Sublime Oasis on Transit, and this particular hypermedia is conceived as an interactive documentary. It's an interface that provides an in-depth tour through all the work produced during the summer school, the 1-month summer school, by one of its units. Here, the key document is a hyperdiorama, a physical model that contains all the projects by all the students and connects them hypervisually. By clicking in the highlighted areas of the hyperdiorama, we can get closer to it and get into each of the projects. If we get into the projects, we see they're built hypervisually as well. The projects are composed by different parts. That was the methodology they followed, and so by clicking on the highlighted areas again, you can go even deeper into every part of the project, and again, by clicking, you can access more and more and more into the network of information. Here, the purpose was very clear. We wanted to create a system in which nothing that had been produced would get lost. Even though hypermedia is the proper format of the internet, not many websites are designed using hypermedial strategies. However, we can find some. Here is a website developed by the Prado Museum for an exhibition on the Garden of Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. What this hypermedia allows the users is to get closer to the painting, a painting that is extremely complex and has a lot of detail. Through this website, the user can decide where to go closer and expand the information relating every fragment of the whole painting. This way, it's the users, the one who decide what they want to see and where they want to get deep into the painting. This one is another Hypermedia site, the Yale School of Arts website. However, this Hypermedia is conceived quite differently from the previous one. This one is fully hypertextual. What this Hypermedia allows is that every member inside the Yale community, teachers, students, faculty member, can edit any page of the website. Traditionally, websites are designed and developed by one single person that uploads all the contents, but here this Hypermedia lets the community, every member in the community, take part in this action. This way, the website changes from a static device to a constantly evolving and transforming network. As you have seen, Hypermedia is all about design. We authors become designers of a network of information, but most particularly, we become designers of the way that the users interact with that network. In the end, this is the format of the internet. This is how the internet works.